All right, the court is calling 2019 CR 6812 State of Texas versus Joshua Tremaine Carroll. Could I have parties announced for the record for the state?
Brian Groomer for the state.
For the
Charles
defense?
Bunk for Mr. Carroll.
And are you Mr. Carroll?
No, Joshua Carroll.
Counsel, do you waive the reading of the indictment?
We do, understanding that we're pleading on count 2 and their state, I anticipate the state waiving and abandoning count 1.
State, are you proceeding on the indictment as presented?
Judge, yeah, I believe it's listed as paragraphs, but we're proceeding on paragraph B, which is aggravated assault causing serious bodily injury, waiving paragraph A.
That is my understanding as well. We don't object to that.
All right. All right, Mr. Carroll, I'm going to show you what's entitled Court Admonishments and Defendant's Waivers and Affidavit of Admonitions. Did you review that document with your attorney? Did you understand it? And did you sign it in all the appropriate places?
Yes, ma'am, I did.
Did you understand in paragraph B, you're charged with aggravated assault causing serious bodily injury? That's a second-degree felony. The range of punishment is anywhere from 2 to 20 years in prison and up to $10,000 fine. Did you understand?
Yeah.
According to the plea bargain agreement, the state is proceeding on paragraph B. Punishments be assessed at 2 years in the prison. There's a $500 fine. There are no applications. State will take in consideration the following cause numbers: 2021 CR 2207, 2021 CR 1465, 2021 CR 2771. You are to show up for sentencing on November 3rd at 9 a.m. If you do not appear on November 3rd at 9 a.m., you will be subjected to the full range of punishment, but your plea will stand. Do you understand? So do you understand that if you do not show up for sentencing, the court could sentence you up to 20 years in prison?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Do you understand that to be the entirety of the plea bargain agreement? Defense, is that the plea bargain
It
agreement?
is, Judge.
State, is that the plea bargain agreement?
It is, Judge.
Then to the offense as charged in paragraph B, how do you plead? Guilty, not guilty, or no contest?
No contest.
State, any evidence?
Yes, Judge. State would offer State's Exhibit number 1.
We have reviewed the same and have no objections.
Mr. Carroll, I'm showing you what's entitled Waiving Consent to Stipulation of Testimony and Stipulations. Did you review that document with your attorney? Did you understand it? Did you sign it in all the appropriate places?
Yes, I did.
Again, did you understand you have a right to jury trial, a right for you or your attorney to cross-examine and confront any witnesses the state would call them the right to remain silent?
Yes, ma'am, I did.
Did you understand that today the state will be presenting evidence in the form of witnesses' statements and police reports, but most importantly, there will be no live testimony? Did you understand? Court will find that defendant has knowingly and voluntarily waived and consented to stipulation of testimony and stipulations. Court will accept into evidence State's Exhibits 1 and attachments and review the same. All right, after reviewing State's Exhibits 1 and attachments, the court will find there's sufficient evidence to find you guilty. The court will find you guilty. And we will come back on sentencing on November 3rd at 9 a.m. And could you give them a reset phone? Mr. Carroll, if you'll come down, please. Yeah. And this is just for one case, is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
The victim impact or the sentencing? The sentencing is one case.
Okay.
Yes.
All right, the court is calling 2019 CR 6812 State of Texas versus Joshua Tremaine Carroll. Can I have parties announced for the record for the state,
Jason Garahan, Your Honor.
for the defense?
Charles Bunk for Mr. Carroll.
And are you Mr. Carroll?
Yeah.
All right. So you entered a plea to paragraph B on September 28, 2022. The court found there was sufficient evidence to find you guilty. The court found you guilty. There were no applications. So that was in September of 2022. So why are we just now doing this in February of 2023?
You had allowed him some time to get his affairs in order. He had an unfortunate event which caused him to miss his court date.
So they picked him up rather than come to you when he got picked up and ask you to consider a bond and getting him out. We've left him in there on purpose to pay his penance. And we're asking you to follow the plea bargain if you would.
All right, according to the plea bargain agreement, punishments be assessed at 2 years in the prison. There's a $500 fine. And it says that both parties agree that if he didn't show up for sentencing, he would be subject to the full range of punishment. So State, are you still proceeding with the plea bargain agreement?
Your Honor, in light of him not showing up, I believe the full range, as it says in the agreement. At this point, we'll defer to the court for the reasoning behind that he didn't show up and if it was a valid reason. If it
Right.
was
You wanna-
hospital stay or what.
You want to call your client as a witness to explain?
Yes,
Could you raise your right hand for me?
raise your hand.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you give will be the truth and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Ma'am.
You can lower your hand, state your name for the record. State your name for the record. All right, why didn't you show up for court?
Because I have some problems.
We all have problems, but you're not telling me what your problems were.
Well, first of all, my daughter had her baby, but I came up with I was sick soon, so my corona.
Everybody used coronavirus as an excuse, but did you provide any medical documentation that you had that?
Yeah, I do. I have that.
No. Did you provide any medical documentation to the court that you were ill?
I think I did. I should have. Do you have any?
I do not. Not for the date you're addressing, Judge.
Yes. So you did not, because if you would have, I would have that, and I don't have it.
So you don't have any paperwork at all?
I don't have anything to show that you were ill, and that's the reason why you didn't show up for your sentencing. I do have that I was lenient with you to allow you to get your affairs in order and to come back on a different date for sentencing. That's what I have. So why shouldn't I sentence you to beyond the 2 years? Because that's your agreement. Your agreement is if you don't show up for sentencing, you are subject to the full range of punishment. So my question to you is, why shouldn't I sentence you to 20 years?
Say that again, please.
Your agreement was that if you did not show up for your sentencing date, that your range of punishment would be up to 20 years in prison. You did not show up. So the question is, why shouldn't I send you to prison for 20 years?
I most definitely didn't understand that one.
No, you did, because it's a part of your plea bargaining agreement. And what I can tell you, and I'm sure your counsel will tell you this, and even though this is a new prosecutor to this court, I go over the plea bargaining agreement in great detail and ask on the record, do you understand that to be the plea bargaining agreement? And usually, well, not usually, every time I ask the defendant first, do you understand that to be the plea bargaining agreement? And they will say yes. Then I will either ask the state of the defense attorney, is that the plea bargaining agreement? And I can tell you that you were aware that you were subject to the entire range of punishment. So we're back to this. Why shouldn't I sentence you to 20 years? Because that was your bargain, that if you didn't show up for court, that you will be subject to the full range of punishment. And I remember all of the people who say, give me some extra time and I will show up.
What was going on with your daughter? Yeah, I mean, she had a baby next month or whatever, you know what I mean? But I don't think.
What do you mean she has her baby next month? You told me she already had the baby.
No. She went in the hospital. She was sick. I thought that she wasn't gonna even, that she was gonna lose the baby or whatever, you know what I mean?
And when did this happen?
Like last month.
All right, so that happened last month. So that would have been January. So that still doesn't explain why you didn't show up for your sentencing on November. You were set for sentencing on November 3rd. Here's the thing. Sometimes people don't have an excuse. Sometimes it's like, I made a bad decision. I was enjoying my free life out here and I just didn't show up. So I'm trying to figure out, is that your case or is there something else that was going on in your life? Because you're looking at 20 years in prison.
That he doesn't have an excuse that we want to offer at this time. He does, I mean, I agree with the court. You did admonish him. He understood that. I'm concerned, I mean, as we stand here today, he's not near as cognizant of I've dealt with as he's been in the past. I'm somewhat concerned about that, but I mean, he's not a man of means. When that November date came, his phone was cut off. We were not able to locate him. I mean, he didn't, I mean, I know I spoke to him after that when his daughter was sick. But we'd ask you not to sentence him to 20 years. We don't think that's, we hope that that's not what the court decides to do, but if the court decides, we ask the court to follow the plea bargain and perhaps give him 3 years, just, you know. I've been indicated that the court takes this seriously and.
All right, state.
In lieu of the explanation of the judge, the state, with previous negotiations that they have in our file, we believe the appropriate sentence would be 5 years.
All right, this is what the court is going to do. The court will sentence you to 4 years in the prison, give you credit for any time served, take in consideration 2021 CR 2207, 2021 CR 1465, 2021 CR 2771. The court will give you credit for any time served. There's a $500 fine. Time and money will run concurrent. I'm going to show you what's entitled Trial Court Certification of Defendant's Rights to Appeal. Did you review that with your attorney? Did you understand it? And did you sign it?
That's your signature.
All right, because this is a plea bargain agreement, because I followed your plea bargain agreement, and because you waived your right to appeal, you do not have the court's permission to appeal. Because this is a felony conviction, you're not allowed to own or possess any weapons or ammunition. If you have a question over what a weapon or ammunition is, you'll need to speak to your attorney. Do you understand? We can go off the record. Mr. Carroll, I always, when attorneys say, can you give my client some extra time to report? Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. But I take it very seriously when I give someone time to report. Because when you think about it, somebody's saying, all right, I'm going to show up and I'm going to take my prison sentence. You didn't show up. And that's a problem. And if there would have been a good explanation, things may have turned out differently.
I don't even remember even.
All right, so you can have him have a seat. They're supposed to impact. There's not.
No,
All right, thank you.
Judge, sorry, we're just gonna go ahead and surpass that because.
All right, thank you. Good luck on your trial.
Thank you.